Welcome to the Scottsdale Vibes podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Haygood. Today is going to be a little different. I am having another podcast host on the mic, so it might be a little competitive to see who can get the most mic time, but I'm really excited to have the Finding Arizona podcast with us today. After nearly a decade of telling Arizona's stories, he is the award-winning Finding Arizona podcast. We're going to talk about curiosity, community, and why Scottsdale really continues to inspire and create entrepreneurs. And a fun fact, I was actually a guest on his podcast as well. So now you'll have to tune in and hear a little bit more about my story, as I got to do a little bit more talking than normal. So it was really fun. But of course, before we do that, let's talk about our favorite State Farm agent, Mr. Jeremy Mueller. Life moves fast in Arizona, and the last thing you need is to wonder if you're covered. That's why Jeremy Mueller Insurance comes in. With over 25 years in Scottsdale and 3 local offices, Jeremy and his team know exactly what coverage works best here. From home and auto to life and business insurance, they've got your back every step of the way. Exceptional service, reliable support, and reassurance. That's Jeremy Mueller Insurance. Don't wait. Contact him today at jeremymueller.com or 480-515-5223. If you love discovering the people, businesses, and stories that make Arizona special, chances are you've already heard of the Finding Arizona. It's an award-winning weekly podcast that highlights local business owners, creatives, and community leaders from all across the state, all through organic, conversational interviews that feel more like talking with a friend than sitting through a formal Q&A, which I really can attest to because Jose and I talked for over an hour, I think, yesterday and had plenty to talk about. So you have interviewed more than 400 Arizona business owners and entrepreneurs, gaining a unique perspective on really what makes this state so unique. And I think that's incredible because we are a melting pot here, truly, especially in the Valley. So I want to hear from you. I mean, 400, I think I'm accomplished at like 280. You've got me years past this. How did you get started in the business?
I talked to you about this on my episode, and it's a lot to do with my early beginnings as a child. I actually grew up on the Hopi Reservation, and that's where I spent a lot of my journey learning through my grandfather about storytelling and the importance of storytelling. And that transitioned into my later years where I was graduating from ASU and basically screen printing T-shirts for other business owners and just getting to know them and getting to know their personal story. And that's what actually kind of snowballed me into podcasting. I was very fascinated and I enjoyed having the conversation. So that snowballed into, well, I want to preserve these somehow. I want to dedicate something of a semblance of a legacy piece for not only my family, but for those that participate with me. So that was kind of the whole idea was like, okay, they deserve a chance at the table like I was taught. So this is what I'm going to provide in that meantime.
What do you think storytelling that you learned as a child from your grandfather, what was the importance of that and when it comes to memory and conversations and stuff?
I think one of the most important things that he always taught me was like the importance of being able to be a good listener. And that is just as important as being able to tell the story, as being able to sit down, open up your heart and your ears to someone else's perspective of life. And so that's something that I took away as just as important to having the conversations, being able to take in what the person has to say and maybe just throw back a few questions that interest you or just kind of have a dialogue with them about the story that they told.
Who was your very first, 400 people.
Yeah.
Who was your very first interview?
It was the guy who taught me how to screen print T-shirts. It was the owner.
Really, you have to like start right where it's in your backyard,
it's
right?
just literally, I've also kind of preached this as well, is use what you have in front of you. Use what's at your closest convenience, is because that might not be something that piques all of your interest, but it will also be the thing that piques someone else's interest. You have the opportunity to share. Why don't you take that opportunity and just give highlights to it and share that with others who probably never seen it or don't have an appreciation for that?
So, we talked about this. So when I started the podcast or when I started podcasting, I'd only lived here 6 months in the States.
Yeah.
So I really knew no one. And I joined the Scottsdale Chamber of Commerce and I just started showing up to everything. And I remember I went to this luncheon or dinner or something and the lady next to me worked for the chamber. She's like, what do you do? And I was like, told her, I was like, I created this podcast. And she goes, oh, well, what are you doing here? And I was like, I'm just looking for content. I was like, who has a cool story? And she was like, that's it. And I was like, I don't know anyone.
That's it.
And she's like, well, you're in the right place. I literally would just go and like introduce myself. What's your story? What do you do?
Yeah.
Like, and get to know. And that I kind of the same thing was like, you want to come on the podcast? Like,
Exactly.
and it's, you know, here we are 4 years later. It's crazy.
I think that's the beautiful part about it is that you're able to be kind of the fly on the wall, but also when those moments hit where you're kind of the shining light and you're the butterfly of the ball, it allows you to transform into that thing where it's like, we had this conversation on mine where it's like being the person who has and can facilitate the guy for you is so much fun. I like being that person.
Yeah.
It's just being able to, hey, like, tell me what your needs are, and I can probably facilitate somehow to either get you what you need or someone who knows exactly what you need.
Yeah, I love it. So you went to screen printing, you went to ASU, never going to be a podcaster, and here we are 10 years later. How have you evolved in these 10 years from the owner of the screen print store to me, which is hilarious, I think.
There's a lot of growth, a lot of evolution in anyone's story. And I think for me in particular, fatherhood has always kind of been the real sticking point on a lot of things. And it's really evolved me in a very adult manner. It's just one of those aspects of life I find very endearing because my son and my own relationship with my own father, they're very dynamic in the sense that we are very like individuals of ourselves, but also caring enough to want to empathize with a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And so I try my best to make sure that I'm regulating my emotion, make sure that's like, I've come a long way since the very beginning where I'm like spouting off my own opinions, but also on top of that, I've learned to endure those opinions that also are not the same as mine. Yeah. And so some of the things that you come across when podcasting is similar. Some people are different than you are. And how do you allow yourself to open up and see something that you can connect on or, some kind of connection that you have with the individual that you're talking to face to face? So there's a lot of growth that's happened throughout my 10 years. But I think 2 points. One is just fatherhood has changed me for the better. But 2 is just being able to learn through the process, learn to care about those who come on the show more and more and more and more.
I think to kind of build off of that, having people with different opinions or viewpoints is attractive to me because it gives us, I think being on the podcast, people feel safe, to know that you are giving them a microphone, you are giving the opportunity to talk, but they seem to understand that you're there to listen as well. But I feel like they listen and reciprocate that. And I feel like podcasting has brought that opportunity for people to come together, with different opinions just to have a conversation. Yeah,
I think there are basic tenets to having a conversation or a dialogue. And one of the things that I think most people can agree upon is if I allow you to have or speak to me, I will give you the respect and back and forth. And so that's just something that comes along with doing what we do. But one of the other things that I just really enjoy as overall is I'm a person who believes that I'm not the smartest in the room. I
purposely do that, and I love that, right? Yeah.
And it makes the conversation that much more fun because I can easily transfer it to, hey, teach me something. Mm-hmm. Give me something that I can learn, and we can go back and forth on. So, and it's pretty easy for me. I'm a very curious individual, so it's been very easy these last 400 episodes to kind of pick at things that I'm very curious about the professional who's talking to me.
Yeah. How do you find your guests at this point?
It has been a very good testament to we kind of talked about this off air. It's like, some people think that we're painting ourselves in a corner by being very specific to our brand, which is Scottsdale, Arizona.
Right.
But because we're evolving as a population, as a group, as a state, as everything, an entity as a whole, there's an evolution that always kind of generates more and more content. More and more people are doing more and more businesses are thriving. So it's easier now than it was in the very beginning. We were, using social media, a very heavy load of like Instagram DMs. But now it's become a little bit easier. We have a network of people who enjoy our podcast, so they ask to be on the show. But also on top of that, we do keep ourselves open to very, very different possibilities and opportunities. So when there's someone who's maybe outside the realm of like, hey, this isn't what exactly fits into our box,
Yeah.
but I'm willing to give it a shot. I'm willing to try and have a dialogue and make sure that people are aware of their neighbors, of the people who
Right.
sit next to them on the bus or, go to the DMV with them. So I try my best to keep it an open format.
Well, you have a beautiful setup as well, on your podcast, but you started off, let's see, when I started off, I was on a box, looking out my window, sitting on my bedroom floor, kind of recording, and no one knew, and everything was through FaceTime audio, I think I was using, because I had the best quality kind of thing. Let's see, MMA gyms, you have done workshops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Talk about your growth.
Oh, man.
Because people are like, oh, podcasters, there's Seth Rogen. Everyone's like that. It's like, that's not how it starts.
That's not. And I'll be the one, because I was standing, in the sense of like, we were producing content and podcasting while Seth Rogen was still kind of in the early days. We were right there next to him, kind of learning the process. Now, I'll be the first one to admit I didn't know the back ends of what comes along, because there's more than just doing the podcast. There's the SEO behind the scenes and just getting all of the little details fleshed out, and so that the audience, there's no frequency from them. They just turn on, tune in, and they're there. So it's some of the things that I've evolved in is just being open to possibilities. So like you were saying, there's live pieces that we do and produce that is just a lot of fun for me. I'll be honest, one year I was at the Tempe Oktoberfest, and I had to do the bratwurst contest. So I'm like there eating, and the champion, like the 2-time champion's like on the other side of the table, and there I am just trying to like keep up, and I'm like behind him, like I'm keeping the pace and everything, and so just being able to say, hey, I was there. I gave him a run for his money. It's those types of things as like allowing yourself to be open to just different pieces of what you do. But yeah, the evolution has come a long way from just being in a hot garage, because you're screen printing shirts, so you have to dry them in a heater. So it's like doing that for so long, then transitioning and actually meeting my wife along the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's part of our love story. It's like telling her that I couldn't go on weekend dates because I'm doing this podcasting thing, but she was a big podcaster listener, and so she's like, I'm gonna listen to all of them and I'll get back to you. And then she got back to me, she's like, I want to help you. I love what you do. And so that is part of our love story, is meeting her and having her join me along the way.
I love that.
Yeah.
My husband got me into podcasting as well. It's been good for us.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. Of all the guests, and you can't listen, I know you kind of asked me this question. We're not going to give the same answer.
Yes.
We both are very empathetic, people, and we can both be hard on the outside, but you give me a nonprofit or kid story and I'll melt in 2 seconds kind of thing.
Yeah.
So without those being your answer,
yes.
What are some very memorable individuals that have stuck out to you, and why?
Yeah. I'll be honest, some of the ones that you have like located all around you that are just like friends of ours, Ravenscroft, which is right in front of your laptop, was one of those ones that stood out, because being that they are such a beautiful musical entity that just not only has a nonprofit side, but also has a for-profit side, and you can enjoy the jazz. But there's so much that is involved in this one facility that I just really enjoyed. That one stood out. And then the State 48 guys, I had met one of them and asked them to be on my show very early on. And they were on board because they were trying to, drum up publicity and marketing just as much as I was trying to.
Printing screen shirts, by the way. You kind of had something to do with that.
So it was a very close ties. And I think that's why they were open to it, is that, I was doing the same thing as them. And, but yeah, that one was memorable because I had met them at a time in a period where they were transitioning from out of the garage and starting to become more official
look at him now.
entity. Yeah, look at him now. And so for me, one of the things I've been lucky enough to say is the people who have been on our show at the time that they've been on their show were on the precipice of doing something else. And it's just another nice pat on the back to be like, hey, I know them. They're doing great. Yeah. And it's really fun. So State 48 was one that stood out. Ravenscroft. I'm trying to stay away from the nonprofit because I'm hard. I would have to also say favorite character that I've met so far as a chef is Chef Joey. And
he's the best.
Yeah, he's just so fun. And he's honestly, as someone who's been on the East Coast and have met a couple of guys like him, that is just like, yeah, he fits the bill 100%. And he's my guy. He's like the funniest guy.
He's everyone's guy.
Yeah.
He's the best. Are you as surprised to me as I am sometimes that people say yes to like being on your podcast still?
I do, in all honesty, too, because I am also a producer and editor for some other people's podcasts. And so I'm so surprised because my network has grown massively from doing so that I'm like, I'm surprised when I go and just pitch them, like, nonchalantly sometimes. We're like, hey, no pressure. Are you interested? And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And they're like, that was easy. That was so easy.
I tell people, I kind of told you this too. It's honestly part of the reason I started it was just to get to know people because I didn't know anyone here.
Yeah.
It would be really weird if I just started calling people and asking questions. But if you want to come on a podcast, I'll ask you the same questions.
Exactly.
I too have found it. I think that just goes to show who we are as a valley and state.
Yeah.
So with that, what have you learned about Arizona as a whole over the decade after interviewing and getting these personal stories?
Yeah. This is where I tie it back to our conversation on my podcast, is the fact that we have grown with the community and shared the stories. But one of the things that stands out for both of us is the fact that there's more of a community than there is competition, especially in the entrepreneurial market, is something that we've kind of slowly picked as, like, from story to story, we've recognized that these individuals really want to try their best to collaborate and be helpful to one another and try and work together rather than trying to beat out competition from one another. So I think that stands out from a lot of other places in big markets. That's like, this is a place of a melting pot, and we really do try our best to make sure that everyone's involved and everyone can collaborate and be a part of it.
Let's talk specifically about Scottsdale kind of with that, because we are the Scottsdale vibes.
Yes.
What do you think makes Scottsdale so unique in that sense of what you were just describing about entrepreneurship and creativity?
Yeah. I think from the standpoint of how the economics of this city has grown in the last decade, maybe even 2 decades, you can see the growth from just how much they've put into the infrastructure, to what kind of businesses are growing out of here, from technology, AI businesses. It's one of those things that fascinates me, that such a interesting location. And for those who are out of state, there is a Indian reservation that is like
in the middle.
In the middle. It's like stopping you guys from growing on one side. But at the same time, you guys are a gem. You guys have so much going for you. And it just really does show that when you are in a place like a desert, there's something that shines through. And whether that's the economics, whether that's the people, whether that's just the growth of everything, we as community members, you and I, really are just trying to cheerlead and advocate for those that are doing the stuff every day.
I mean, we have the easy job. We are the cheerleaders. I love that. I didn't even think about that. Why finding Arizona? Why did you cover the whole state in that sense?
Yeah. This is something that no one really likes to, or no one has really asked me. And I love this kind of answer or question because I'm not just from Phoenix. I'm not just from Scottsdale. I actually grew up outside of both areas. I grew up on the north part of the eastern corner. And so I've seen more than just the city, the capital. I've been to Tucson. I've been to Yuma. I've been to all these different places. And all of them have some unique factor of entrepreneurship or something that's growing out of it, specialization. I mean, I don't know if you know, but I mean, I think a lot of people now start to see that there's like a wine industry that's growing in Prescott and some of those other new things that are growing here in the Valley. And so for me, I just really wanted to try and reach out to those who, again, don't get that recognition, don't get that like real, like, I'm not in the Phoenix area, I'm not in the Tucson area. No one really knows me or what I try to bring to the market. So for me, I was like, okay, well, I really try my best to show and care for the people that I grew up with and that I am surrounded by, and that's the whole state of Arizona.
Yeah. Has it taught you more commonalities and differentiations between us as a state, even though we're a melting pot and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. It's also kind of shown me that this state is also a keystone for a lot of back and forth, not only with the southern border, but also just where it stands as far as logistics for sending out things and how people use this state to market for other states.
What do you think keeps your excitement going for each new episode?
Man, I'll say this. Growing up, I was a very much talkative guy and very your grandfather let you talk. It sounds like he was a storyteller, so that's good to hear. Yeah, and it's really it's the feeling of connection. It's the feeling of building networks, and ideally it's a legacy piece for my son. He is just a big part of my life now. He loves.
Has he been on the podcast yet?
No, but we've got two things coming down
Okay.
the works. Is one, we have an outro that we're reproducing with him doing the
Love
audio,
it.
and then two, he has mentioned to me that he wants to start a podcast.
Yeah.
And so we're probably in the works, very early beginning to a father-son podcast.
Yeah,
So
it's really hilarious. I used to do a parenting podcast with my
yeah?
sister because my sister and I had kids at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So we did a parenting podcast. It was called Parenting Unfiltered. It is very unfiltered, so please be prepared. And we had our kids on it, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And they loved it, and it was so funny. I highly suggest it because the things that really come out of their mouth is remarkable, or they would also just clam up. And it's like, you never stop talking, and now the mic's in front of you, and now you have nothing to say. It was like funny. They couldn't decide how to act.
Well, we do family vlogs too for
Yeah.
our website, and my son has gotten better and better with like being comfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So it's like now when I do the vlogging for the channel, he'll take the phone from me and be like, "Hey, everyone! Like, look at me! I'm in front of."
So
blah, blah.
you need to be careful now,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah.
gotta control.
I have to. Yep. Easy transitions. Like we're just really trying to ease him into the public eye. So, but he's fantastic, and again, there's a lot of things that I'm very proud of. But again, my relationship to him and my relationship to the podcasting side has just grown and intertwined itself with one another, and I'm really excited, but also just trying my best to make sure that I'm doing the right thing every step of the way.
And what is the right thing going to look like 5, 10, 15 years from now?
Like most people, we really want to share and help those who come on our show and tell their stories. So right now, we are in the process of being editors and being producers for those publications. So that essentially, I hope to network into a whole group of podcasters that want to be on one network and maybe create something that has a huge identity behind it, that we can work together and do really great storytelling.
You know, you and I are similar but very different in how we do things. You know, we have the same concept of the people, places, and events. Mine's just about Scottsdale, yours in Arizona. Podcasting, anyone can do it. As you have learned, and I have learned the hard way, both of us, it is a lot of work. And people do not realize how much work podcasting truly is.
Yes.
So when people are like, oh, well, you're just like every other one, what do you say to that?
I say, the nice thing to do is say, hey, just listen to a couple episodes and you'll see how different we are from the rest and how much we care about those who come on the show.
Yeah.
I think that from my own perspective, just that fact that I grew up outside of a lot of the traditional storytelling makes me so much different as a host.
Yeah.
And so that gives me a leg up on different ways of looking at certain stories. So for me, I would just say as a nice thing to say to those who like doubt me is like, take a listen. And I promise you will enjoy, if not the latest episode, you'll enjoy one of the many previous episodes that we've had, and just try and pick out something that piques your interest. If you're technology, there's plenty of technology episodes. If you're a foodie, I have a lot of foodies that join us. So we've tried our best that if you have an interest or have a kind of a yearning to learn from someone, we'll probably have them on the show.
What have you, as an individual and podcaster, how have you grown in that sense? Here's an example. When I first started, listening to yourself is, for me, one of the hardest things to do, right?
Yeah.
I use the word awesome all the time when I started podcasting.
Yeah.
Everything was awesome. You know, I felt like that song from Trolls or something like that. What have you learned as an individual and podcaster and grown in that way?
I mean, just from a standpoint of verbal conversation is I use a lot of, I would say, big words. I tend to use a lot of big words. I think it's just from a standpoint of like, I'm so afraid to like not sound intelligent, or sometimes I feel like I'm lacking in certain things.
Yeah.
I've noticed that, but like you, it's like I've also noticed the the likes, all of the filler words that go along with how I conversate with someone. But my hope is that as I've evolved as a conversationalist, is that I still keep my same sense of curiosity. I don't want to lose that. That's something that I feel precious about.
Yeah.
Is that I have this sense of like, I will go on a tangent, and I'm not afraid to go on a tangent. But there's, you want to keep the dialogue of your show comfortable and on track. So, I've learned a couple of tricks to keep me on track.
Yeah. And we kind of talked about this too, that not everyone's a great conversationalist, and sometimes
the introverts, you got to pull stuff out of.
And I tell everyone, I love a brand new podcaster who's never been a podcaster before. They're my favorite to work with, kind of thing. Because they're the ones that come on and they're like, I can't do this. I'm in a fub and all this. I'm the one that always mispronounces a name or word, and like we're redoing it for me. So they're my favorite to work with, I feel like, in that sense.
And there's a little tricks that you can give them, personality wise, or just in the sense of like for you and I have trouble remembering names. So what I'll do too is like I'll ask this very specific question that involves you getting your name out or something like that. But those are just little things. Sometimes I forget, or I'll just be honest, like, hey, remind me how you have to say this particular word, or it's like that. I'm very open to being the wrong pie on the face kind of guy.
But that's what people don't understand, that when these guests come on, like, can we edit everything? It's like, yes,
but it ruins the flow.
But it ruins the flow of the conversation because everyone flubs when they talk, and that's what podcasting is about, and that's what getting to know our community is about. Is just the down hardness and openness.
Well, I think it's also showing the fallacies of like, you're not perfect, so I like seeing that kind of the abrasions of like your personality of like, I know what the dings are and what not to talk about too. It's like those types of things are very important.
Well, who is someone that you haven't had on yet that you would love to have on?
I just talked to my wife about this yesterday, and we were.
Let's put it out there. Let's put it out
there. We haven't had a lot, or haven't had many professional athletes, and so I am a big fan of basketball and Devin Booker. So I really think having him on would be really cool, just from not only his upbringing, but also just his skill set as a professional right now. I'm a huge fan, and just some of the stuff that he puts out too is just really great.
I love that. All right, athletes. We'll see what we can do for you.
Thank you.
Last question, as always. You know what's coming. What is your favorite Scottsdale vibe?
Oh, that's a good question. I really do like your guys' food industry. You guys have a real professional sense of branding all throughout Scottsdale. I feel like there is a semblance of like really well crafted local eats. Yeah. And so I think from just the branding standpoint, the actual taste and food aspect, I just love the whole vibe of the food market here.
Can't go wrong. There is something for everyone, that is for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, we have Finding Arizona podcast, YouTube channel. They are all over social media by name, right? Yes. Finding Arizona podcast. And again, it's just a continuation of what we do here. And you can get bigger and better voices throughout the whole state and better ways to connect our community. So, Jose, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited.
I appreciate it.
And I can't wait for everyone to hear my episode as well. But first, we've got some events to tell you about, and Sean Shackleton, our favorite real estate agent as well. So buying and selling a home can be frustrating and stressful, but don't worry, Sean Shackleton with the Shackleton Group is here to change that. With over 25 years of expertise and a true understanding of today's market, Sean works tirelessly to get you the home you deserve. She really has her finger on the pulse of the different Scottsdale neighborhoods and knows the community well. Don't settle for less and get stuck in confusion. Reach out to Sean at 480-734-7277 or visit her at theshackletongroup.com and make your next move a winning one. Lots of things coming up. So we have the Barrett Jackson Car Show happening January 17th through 25th. You will absolutely see me out there. I love this event. And kids are free, 12 and under, so be sure to get those tickets fast. Scottsdale Western Week is happening after that, kicking off the 75th anniversary of our amazing city, so it will be fun. Again, we're hosting a float for Scottsdale leadership out there. My kids are marching in it. We'll be out there all day at Scottsdale Western Week, followed up by the Parada del Sol as well. And then, of course, we have the one and only WM Phoenix Open. They say it's a golf tournament. I've seen a couple balls thrown around. Either way, it's a hell of a good time of a weekend and week, really, so get prepared for that. Have a wonderful week, Scottsdale. Keep vibing, and I'll see you around town.